First, let's cover some of the basic biology that will help lay the groundwork for what's to come. Here's a picture of the human body and many of the organs which are specialized for an enormous range of different functions. All of these are made up of a basic unit, which is the cell. And here on the left is a rather beautiful microscopic image of a human cell. And on the right is an illustration of a cell. The body of an adult has close to 100 trillion cells. And inside cells are many subcellular organelles. And among these, here circled in red, are the mitochondria. Now, in this drawing, there are only 2 mitochondria shown, but in fact, a single cell can have up to many thousands of mitochondria. And mitochondria are sometimes called the power generators of the cell because one of their roles is to convert nutrients into energy, energy that fuels all of the body's functions. And mitochondria have many different functions, but generating the body's fuel in the form of ATP is one of their critical roles. The density of mitochondria actually varies from tissue to tissue in the body depending on its energy requirement. So cells in the brain and muscle, for example, have higher energy demands and therefore have a high density of mitochondria. And when mitochondria don't function well, these tend to be the parts of the body that show signs of poor function. The heart, the liver, kidneys, and the pancreas are also organs with high energy demands. And this is useful for you to know because when a child with autism or other neurodevelopmental condition has relatives with certain disorders involving these other organs, it's more likely that mitochondrial dysfunction is playing a role in the child's condition. Now, I'd like to show you this brief video put together by a wonderful organization called Mitoaction that provides education and support to families affected by mitochondrial disease. So I hope that came through okay. And you can, if there's any trouble viewing that video, you can see it both on the Mitoaction website and also on my practice website, gomd.org. So let's move on now to look at how mitochondrial dysfunction relates specifically to autism. And just over the past few years, research has shown that autism is a condition where mitochondrial dysfunction is very common. This was a study at University of California, Davis, looking at a range of biomarkers for mitochondrial dysfunction in children with autism compared to neurotypical children. And it found that 80% of children with autism had signs of mitochondrial dysfunction on tests that looked specifically at activity of the mitochondrial respiratory chain complexes. And this study was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, which is one of the preeminent journals around the world. And here are several other research publications that have come out in the past 10 years, all showing evidence for mitochondrial dysfunction in autism. And all of these references are available online through the websites that I'll provide to you at the end of the presentation. This is a review article in which the researchers analyzed the results of 18 different studies and found that 78% of those with autism had blood tests indicating mitochondrial dysfunction. And this is an excellent review paper published in 2012. The researchers explain how mitochondrial dysfunction can connect many of the different medical symptoms associated with autism, including symptoms in many different organs, like the brain, the muscle, and gastrointestinal tract. And this book, which you may be familiar with, The Autism Revolution, was published by Dr. Martha Herbert, who is a pediatric neurologist and professor at Harvard Medical School. And it's been important in bringing attention to mitochondrial dysfunction and other medical aspects of autism that can be treated. She explains that problems with the mitochondria create problems for the whole body, in particular the brain, which uses huge amounts of energy. She also explains how many different types of triggers can lead to mitochondrial dysfunction, including gene mutations, shortages of key vitamins and minerals in the diet, certain chemicals, heavy metals and drugs, certain bacteria and viruses, and stress. This is a very important point, which is that mitochondrial dysfunction may be a final common pathway. That is a potential explanation for how many different factors might lead to the symptoms of autism, such as genetic factors, toxins, infectious and inflammatory processes, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, immune dysregulation, and drugs. And because mitochondrial function is disrupted in the brain, the symptoms of autism arise. Now, the impact that the various genetic and environmental factors have on mitochondria might not be the only way that they impact the brain, but it's likely to be a very important one. Most professionals who care for children with autism still aren't aware of the importance of mitochondrial function, but it's essential that this change, because as we just covered, a substantial body of research now suggests that mitochondrial dysfunction is present in the majority of children with autism. It may be a final common pathway to the symptoms of autism, and it may be a treatable cause of autism.